Hello and welcome to the interview segment of New Dawn. Today on Ogun State Television, we apologize for starting the program a little bit behind schedule. And of course, we are now set to continue with the program, and definitely we'll be looking at the pros and cons of off-cycle elections. And when you look at what off-cycle election is, it's just these elections that come up outside the main general election timetable, and mostly it is due to legal or constitutional circumstances that we have this election. Osun State is one of the states that are actually holding that particular off-cycle election this year. And yes, we have in the studio a guest that would be discussing the pros and cons of this off-cycle election in our democracy in Nigeria. Of course, in the studio we have Mr. Toyin Aziz, a public affairs analyst, and of course a public commentator. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today.
Thank you.
I won't be doing this alone. I have Latif. I said Latif. So Sanusi Latif in the studio with me. But of course, before we commence properly, we would have to take a short break. And when we return, our second guest will be here to join us. Thank you. You're welcome back. This is still the interview segment of New Dawn today on Ogun State Television. I told you earlier that we're looking at the pros and cons of off-cycle elections in Nigeria. And of course, joining us, we have two guests. I earlier mentioned that we have Mr. Toyin Aziz, a public affairs analyst in the studio. And definitely we now have Dr. Tajuddin Usman. He's a university lecturer. Thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Thank you very much.
My colleague is here, like I said earlier, Sanusi Latif. Thank you.
I can understand. Well, good morning to you, Senior.
Good morning.
Our time is fast spent already.
Exactly.
So maybe we should just hit the ground running, looking at the pros and cons of the election. And talking about the pros and cons, maybe I should start from Mr. Toyin Aziz. One of the things that people will look at as one of the pros, which are advantages of the off-cycle election, is the fact that it gives INEC the opportunity to actually test certain things ahead of the general election. I don't know if you agree with that or if you disagree, because some us people also say, should we use one as a guinea pig for another? So I don't know where you stand.
Okay, thank you very much. There are numerous advantages of off-cycle election, depending on the perspective through which one looks at it. You see, people will continue disputing or throwing up arguments, either for or against. But what is important is that off-cycle elections have refilled a lot of merits, and it has added to the credibility of INEC, in the sense that there is this general belief that the ruling party, people do believe that the ruling party always enjoy this power of incumbency and that they can do and undo. But in a situation whereby an election is held and it is contested, either legally or what have you, and at the end of the day, the legal intervention by the competent court of law eventually takes a decision that favors a party who does not even belong to the ruling party. That shows that our democracy is thriving, and that shows that Nigerian democracy is waxing stronger and stronger. The question you have just asked, I am saying this just to buttress the point that off-cycle election is a proof, and it is a testimony to the fact that Nigerian democracy is growing and is becoming, strengthening and strengthening, waxing stronger day in, day out. I have to say this, we all remember the genesis of the off-cycle election, which happened in Anambra State then, during when Governor Chris Ngige, of PDP. He was declared winner of that election. And His Excellency Peter Obi contested that particular election. And at the end of the day, he won and he was declared a winner. That shows that the INEC and the Nigeria courts, they are competent enough to see and to notice and to understand the irregularities that took place in that election. So, if we go by that standard, I think that's a good thing. And it shows that our democracy is moving and is thriving.
Okay, before my colleague comes in, Dr. Julian Usman, I started one of what some people see as one of the pros, and some others see it as one of the cons of the off-cycle election, which he has responded to. But breaking it down further, for you, what are those pros that you see for off-cycle election, and what are those cons that you see for off-cycle election?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning once again. Well, let me begin by saying that the fact that we have off-cycle election, like you said, is a testimony that our democracy is growing. And in the Southwest here, out of the 6 states, 3 of the states will be having off-cycle election. 2 have been conducted, and the next one will be coming up this weekend. And well, one important thing is that at various times, when, like he cited the case of Peter Obi, that he was given victory over a Labour Party aspirant then, a candidate then, that was given victory over PDP when PDP was in the federal government. And in the case of Osun State that we are looking at, when the sitting governor came in, it was APC that was in government
at the federal
level. So it means that there's a little or no influence, so to speak, with respect to the conduct. So having an off-cycle election like this will give the INEC the opportunity to test some of the policies they put in place in preparation for the elections and some of the facilities that are put in place. For example, they want to use technologies to drive some aspect of the election, and certain things that could be so bogus to manage in the general election can be tested in this little election that is being conducted in the state to see how far that it could assist in the process of the general election, and they will also be able to observe the shortcomings that could be observed in the process of testing those facilities in preparation for the general election that is coming up in 2027. Apart from that, the off-cycle election like this will give monitors and civil society organizations the opportunity to really be on ground to monitor the process of the election. Unlike in the case of general election that they have to distribute themselves across the country. So Osun State has just 30 local governments. And I think the presence of the monitors and the civil society organizations in those 30 local governments should be felt in terms of very good monitoring for the election. And apart from that, though contestable, the off-cycle election will give the electorates the opportunity to actually examine the candidate that is being put forward by the various political parties. And there is this usual habit of wanting to vote in a single line, like whatever we voted for in the presidency is the same that should come up in the state when it is general election. But in this case of offline election, the electors have the opportunity of looking at the candidate that's being put forward, irrespective of whoever is in the federal government, to actually say, okay, having observed the attitude and the candidature of this person, we think we should vote for him. It will give a better result if actually people will do that. But like I said, it is contestable.
All right, Mr. Tony Aziz, there are people that are also talking differently. They are not looking at the pros, they are not looking at the cons. They are saying that why should, some elections be conducted outside of the general elections, basically because of the mobilization, the logistics involved, and maybe the cons that you have also itemized. And they are saying that, is it possible that we bring everything together irrespective of what has happened constitutionally, legally, and of course that set those elections at different dates? Is it possible to bring them back?
This is a constitutional question, because every sitting government knows quite well right that it has a lifespan of 4 years, and after 4 years another election will come up. And when there is a problem, when a problem comes up along the line, definitely it will lead to realignment of the whole thing, reconfiguration of the whole process. And because of this, the fact that it's a constitutional matter, you cannot change the constitution unless it is done by the National Assembly, and you know the process that it involves a lot of things. So once the constitution has specified and stipulated what needs to be done at a particular point in time, then all of us will need to follow that trend, and that is exactly what is happening. Now, it might not be possible. We are not, this is a democracy, not a military government, whereby the head of state can just make a pronouncement, at will. So, as far as democracy is concerned, we have to follow due process, and that due process is enshrined in the Nigerian constitution. As of today, just like doctor said, that we have about 8 states that are, going through off-cycle line as of today. So it has to do with the time each of these government comes in, and the most complete the lifespan as stated in the constitution. So that thought or thinking might not be possible, that we just bring all of them back to the normal general election timetable. It might not be really possible.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Okay, Dr. Osman, you also look at the logistics involved in conducting an off-secretary election. You could see the deployment going on in Osun State, and of course the people, the electorate, of course, a lot of things going on. The violence aspect of it is also ongoing, and people are looking at how these elections can actually, try as much as possible to give us a better picture of what a democracy is, beyond what you talked about earlier. The fact that there is a governor, there is a senator, there is the at the National Assembly you have the president, you're voting same day, and of course House of Assembly members as well coming up same day with that of governorship. The ability to streamline candidates for who they are, and of course what that would mean to the electorate and governance in general.
Well, let me also begin by saying that as we progress in the democratic system, the so-called general election is gradually going off, because at a point in time, what will remain of the general election will be the presidential election and probably the legislative elections, because from time to time there will be contest with respect to the outcome of election, and our system has not been so developed such that there will have been delivery of a judgment before the swearing in. So once the swearing in comes up after the delivery comes up after the swearing in, then it means that state is up for an off-cycle election, and to continue like that, because there will always be challenge after election. But being that statement, you see, we just hope that the actors in the electoral process would at least assist the system. One will want to believe that, there will be better security in terms of security management in an off-cycle election. But the question we'll ask ourselves is that, what were the security personnel? What would they be carrying on the day of election? They can't carry gun, they can't carry anything on the day of election. And the thugs that are coming to hijack polling booths, they will be carrying guns. So, and the procedure is that when you see them carrying guns, just allow them to do what they want to do. So it is more of the actors. The fact that we're having an obstacle election doesn't mean that we'll have a better election. It doesn't mean. Yes, we'll spend a lot of money, and parties will concentrate on the state. Governors will leave their states to come to sit in Osun State, for example. By this weekend, they would have been traveling there now to want to say they want to monitor election. But not necessarily because they want to monitor election, but because they want to bring in money into the state. Political actors will come into the state to bring money into the states to want to buy votes, to influence votes. And whereas if it is not an off-cycle election, all these characters will be busy in their various states. So it is more of a complicated one than an easy one. It is more complicated to manage.
More complicated to manage. And one of the complications, I'll bring it from what you just said. One of the the cause of the off-cycle election that people look at is that it turns that particular state to a battlefield. We've seen a lot of violent attacks, violence, related issues and all of that, even money and all of those things. Now the big question is, first, how can we even do without all of this violence? You spoke about political talks. You can't say you want to point accusing figure at a particular party or the other.
No, they're all involved.
You say that they are all involved. So when we've had 27 years of unbroken democracy, when is our democracy going to grow to the extent that even this obstacle, we'll not be talking about one of the concerns, having it as a battlefield of violence and all of that? Maybe I should direct it to...
Okay, thank you very much. I think he has set a very good... he has set a stage for that particular question for it to be well discussed. And my take on that is this. Just like he remarked the other time that there will always be a contest in Nigerian election. What former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, what he did the other time when he lost that election to the late president, General Muhammad Buhari, and he congratulated the man. I think Jonathan acted as a good loser. If you look at Liberia, George Weah and the sitting president then, so immediately the election was and it was with very thin margin, if you could remember, and the sitting president congratulated the man that was declared winner. Now, be that as it may, what I think we need is this. There is no way we cannot separate all this political theory and what have you. It has become part of our political tradition. It has even graduated to the level of becoming a political culture as far as Nigeria is concerned. But there's one thing that is very fundamental that we all need to agitate for. What is that thing? That is good governance. All these political talks that we are talking about, what in the first instance makes them to become political talks? Is that the way they set their own personal or individual agenda when they started growing up? That at a point in time, I want to become a political talk or what have you. We all remember that when we were in various primary schools, our teachers in those days, may God continue to bless them, there was a particular principle or something that they sold in our mind. They will ask you, all of you stand up, what do you want to become in future? You can never see anybody then that will tell you that I want to become a political talk. No, I want to become a medical doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become this and that. It means at a point in time, these people that later their life degenerated to that level of political talk and what have you, something is missing in their life. Are you getting the point I'm making? Now, all hands need to be on deck to agitate for good governance. Some of them learned one vocation or the other, but there's no means of even carrying out to display their skill. Some of them are roadside technicians, some of them are this and that. No electricity, nothing. Then, and it has been established that Ainaidu brain is what? Is a devil's workshop. So it means because they see themselves as failure, and they want to make up, at all costs that for that gap. That is why somebody can just come around and say, okay, take this amount of money, take this ammunition, then go and disrupt the process of election. Who will call you that, Mr. Sanusi, please take this 10,000 naira or 50,000 naira or 100,000 naira? Do you have the time for such a thing? Because you are clear-headed. You are somebody that has focus. You know what you are doing in life. So the first thing that we need to do, if you want to minimize, I do not think it can be eradicated. It has. We have not even had a record of any sovereign state all over the world where such a thing is eradicated. It is only that the difference in the way and manner it is done here and there. You understand the point I am making? Look at just about, was it not last week, the Republican, the United States of America, they are shouting here and there that the Democrat, they are planning a J term or what have you for the sitting president. You understand? So that means they too, they have their own problem one way or the other. So it is. And
the assassination attempts.
That has led to is evacuating or leaving United States of America for UK and things like that. So you look at it from that point of view. Now, what we should clamor for is good governance. Let basic infrastructure be put in place. When we have basic infrastructure, basic facilities, I think a greater number of these people who are, perpetrating, creating problem here and there, I think we'll be able to minimize the problem.
Okay, talking about the off-cycle elections, and yes, let's talk about what is reflecting at the off-cycle elections and of course the general election, the voter turnout. During off-cycle election, you see that the voters, there is always a limited amount of people that come out to vote. And then they talk about, the intimidation by security agencies. Some use that as an excuse. And some said it's because it's not in the general psyche of the people to actually vote during that period. So people decide to stay away. And they said, violence is always one discouragement from electorate to be part of this. How can we better the system to ensure that we have, people having confidence in the electoral system? Yeah.
Thank you very much. See, there is a lot of reorientation that we have to do as far as our electoral system is concerned. There's this bad attitude and disposition that whether I vote or not, the person that will emerge. They have done the election before we even go for the election. So, whether I vote or not, the emerging person will emerge. That is the kind of attitude that many electorates show to election. And at the end of the day, they will sit at home, begin to watch news or play football or watch movies instead of going out to vote. That's on his side. The other one is that after a successful election, there should be governance. And somebody that will enjoy the governance will be somebody that is alive. All right. So some people prefer to be at home. Remember I said there will be concentration in those states. And another thing that there will be importation of thugs into the various states when there is off-cycle election. There will be importation of thugs that will be available to intimidate people. When you talk about intimidation by security agents, that is even minimal when it comes to off-cycle election. It is more of the thugs. There was an election in Ogun State some times ago. I don't want to mention the particular election, and in a particular local government. Another thing is that because we know that where there is disruption of votes, the votes might not be counted in that area. So it is easy to now sponsor disruption of votes in the stronghold of an opposition. So, and since I want to leave, whether you win or not, right, what is important to me is to leave. So, and I want to avoid that election where chaos could be created that could take one's life. So until people are has that confidence that there will not be much of thuggery or disruption at the election. The kind of voters appetite that we are experiencing in off-cycle election will still continue. Right? Because everybody wants to live, and I will not say because I want a candidate to win, I'll put my life at risk. But you see, beyond, like you said, we need good governance. But you see, one has a question, because when I was in the university, I remember that our colleagues in the university that belong to these various cultic groups have been made use of during election. It means those in government knows them, even while they're in school, right? And those people have been enjoying the dividends of thuggery, even while in school. So it will be difficult for them to want to do something reasonable in their life.
By the time they graduate.
But by the time they graduate, that's one. Two, there's this story, the usual story of these people that drive vehicles. I don't want to mention the name of a particular union. All right, vehicle drivers, and they usually carry them along. That some of them will even come out to boast and intimidate people that if you come out to vote in this particular area, we are going to deal with you. And as a result of that, people stay at home. Right? But the truth is that there is law in Nigeria, but the law is so incapacitated that it is not apprehending and punishing these offenders. So until we in fact, when we talk about good governance, it means about remodeling the whole thing about our system. And okay, somebody was caught during an election, and before you know it, he was caught in the morning, and there will be news about him being caught. But before the close of the election, you'll have found him on the streets. Because somebody influential had made the call that, oh, if that boy is our boy. And that gives others that confidence that we have Babang Bejo. So when we do this, there are people that will say, leave them, they are our boys. And the perpetration will continue.
Yeah, the perpetration continues, and one of, drawing from what you said, you mentioned that out of the 8 states where we have off-cycle election, we have 3 in the southwest, and the last of them is going to be conducted in the next 3 or 4 days on Saturday. And we've seen a lot of cases in Osun, violent attack, raiding the home of the SSG. We found some things in his house and none of that. And the big question is, like you said, what has become of those that were arrested? What has happened to the SSG that he was alleged to have been in possession of certain things? So, and we're talking about a legal system that has given birth to the off-cycle election. So you see that the way we apply our laws are selective, or what is really the problem with all of this? Maybe I start from Doctor.
Thank you very much. I would just want to speak briefly of that. You see, that question is what we all know, that our legal system, the way application of our legal system is selective, right? And that is why it is difficult for us to really move on. Somebody steal some tubers of yam and be given a very long legal term, and somebody that thinks that still billions of naira will be given the opportunity of negotiating what to pay so that it can go scot-free. So then the preference will be, let me steal as much as possible so that I will have enough to negotiate with the government. And look at it. The fact that somebody is holding an office, he was caught with certain items that were not supposed to be in his custody. And because of, political consideration, what we call political consideration, that it's not be as if we are intimidating opposition. We want to say, and because we as well, we the electors want to say, no, they are intimidating them. Why not? Because of that, we want to prevent being attacked by saying we are intimidating one party or the other. So we want to say, let us leave them for now and allow it to go. And because you leave that for now, it will allow others to happen.
Okay, talking about trying not to be like we are intimidating them, the account of Osun State government was freezed, and the president stepped in and
and say he was embarrassed.
He said the FCC should do something about it. He was
embarrassed because the FCC did
their job very close to the election. I'll ask 2 questions, Mr. Tony Ablasis. First, is it really do you also feel that the freezing of the account was just to deal with the sitting governor, because of a lot of people in Osun said he has worked, and you also look at the other side of the coin, at the president stepping in. Is he just playing to the gallery, or he has taken the right step in the right direction?
Well, that particular issue, the whole thing was laughable in the sense that, well, whether the president stepped in or not, I think the deed is done. The argument or what some people are saying is that even though His Excellency, as well, Ahmed Tinubu later bailed them out, that the account should be, what about the image of that government that has been dented? Because the action of freezing the account shows that to those people who can really, read, political, whatever, you should know that before such a measure can be taken on a government, sitting governor, definitely the agency, EFCC, what they were trying to prove to us is that they had noticed something substantially negative in that governance. Now, well, it's like somebody, you strip him naked in the public and you now, go to a corner and you give him back his dress. You can't erase it off the minds of those people who have actually seen the nakedness of that particular person. I think while one cannot, prevent EFCC from carrying out their constitutional duty, but the time of application of that constitutional power and implementation of that constitutional power, I think they should be watchful and they should be mindful of the time they have to do that. I think this is not are they saying that they've just noticed that something went wrong in Osun State as far as the action was concerned? No, this is something that probably you have been trying to monitor over the years. Then why must it be during the time that is very close to the election period?
So, but of course, why can't it be? Because of course, some people would say that there was no election before whatever allegation is being, pushed, to the table of the governor. There were no elections, and of course, it might not need money before the election. So, if an act is committed within the time frame, of the election, why not? They're still the people that continue to ask for accountability. And then we charge EFCC, because of course, when you listen to Mr. President talk about how embarrassed and shocking that particular, you could see that he also quoted, EFCC doing their jobs, more like he was just being political, because of course,
my question that
so of course,
the gallery.
Of course, sorry, let me, of course, Doctor also said something that the electorate now, the people, whatever it is we say also have implications. You hear electorate, the citizens coming out to express frustration based on the fact that there is a belief that the federal is actually trying to oppress the state, an assumption or maybe a belief or established facts that that's what they are trying to do. Not also minding that the state itself has been oppressing the people in terms of accountability, in terms of, the good governance that we're talking about. So how do we detach, our emotions from the politicians playing their games?
I think the question on the table is this. The EFCC doing their job as it is demanded by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nobody can prevent them from doing that. Remember, during the late President administration, General Muhammadu Buhari, I think the sitting Senate President then, Bukola Saraki, was brought to, was it court or what? Even as the sitting Senate President. You understand the and people praised that administration for that political integrity, that nobody is likely to be spared, that even the sitting Senate President, is being questioned for one thing or the other. There is no problem concerning that. Now, the motive behind it, because everything, if you interpret it constitutionally, you have to look at it from a moral point of view as well. You understand? Now that, okay, the fund belonging to Osun State government, does it only mean, is it only meant for campaign? No.
It's not even meant for campaign.
It is not meant for campaign. So it is meant for governance of that.
So why is it being withdrawn before election?
If you now freeze the account, what you are saying is that administration should stop doing what is expected to do in that state. That shouldn't be the way to do it.
So when you notice that there's something going on with that account, because of course election is ongoing in that particular state, or there's campaign or this and that, and then you notice, just like we're using moral judgment,
disbursement of 20,000 naira to workers.
So you now start also questioning the motive behind the withdrawal. So I'm looking at, I'm saying this because of course we know that they are all not saints.
Of course.
And of course the fact that the people were able to stand up against the federal government such that the withdrawal of whatever freezing took place was also, we're not looking at them as saints. How can we detach ourselves and look at the fact of the matter? If election is taking place, not only Osun State now, in any state, election is going to take place, and of course there is handsome withdrawal of state resources, and we know what they do with these resources. And then somebody
you
coming.
have not told us what they do with it.
You know what they do with these resources. Of course, there were disbursement of of thousands of naira to Nigerians. At this, but I'm not even particular about Osun State. So if something is happening with a particular account, we recall what happened in Kogi State as well, when he eventually said Yaya Bello during his administration, was it bailout fund was kept in a particular account. I think they said the money was being laundered or something, and they froze the account. And then he said no money is missing in Kogi State. That's like what they do most of the time, and somebody is coming to catch up with them, and then sudden denial that no fund, we are not looking for any money in Kogi State, just because of course he denied the fact that that money was there in the first place. So how do we manage that? Dr. Osman, maybe you can bail us out from that particular.
Well, how to manage it is a thing that we cannot quickly talk about, that we cannot quickly say this is the way out as we speak, because it has to do with a lot of reorientation. You see, many of us are seeing ourselves as appendages of these politicians. They are lost for them, our interest in them. We don't want us to admit that they could do wrong. And that's why when it came up, those that benefited from the 20,000 naira that was disbursed to public servants when it wasn't an election, when it wasn't salary, we say the government is doing well because they are beneficiaries. And just like in various states, when somebody is doing something in the name of government, we don't question how and why and where the source is coming from. Once it is benefiting us, we say he is doing well, right? But until we begin to ask questions, appropriate questions, right questions, that how, why, and where is the source of this you are doing, that is when we can get out of this government we find ourselves.
Okay, our times are fast spent. I think we've been able to dissect the different angles to the pros and cons of off-cycle elections in Nigeria, and particularly the current one going on in Osun State. We implore and of course know that the advice and of course the angles our guests have been able to touch on would actually make sense if Nigerians are able to review most of these things. And of course, largely the reorientation is also critical to having new dimensions into how we conduct our elections generally. So we want to say thank you to our guests this morning, Dr. Tajuddin Usman, a university lecturer, and of course, Mr. Tony Aziz, a public affairs commentator. Thank you so much for being our guest. On you done today. So honestly, we have to go.
Yes, we have to go. It's been a wonderful session. We hope that you enjoyed every bit of it. New Dawn returns on Friday with another set of anchors. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. From us, it's bye for now.